Hello and welcome to episode 45 of Focus on Gaming podcast. Today we're going to be talking about our biggest gaming regrets, bit news, maybe some on this day, making us feel old again. And my name is Duncan and I'm joined by...
Tom. Hi everyone.
Hello. So, Tom, how have you been?
Not bad. How are you?
Excellent. Well, it's our birthday week. In fact, this episode will come out after our birthday, but we're recording this. No, this one, no, it won't come out. It'll come out before our birthdays, and then our birthdays are. So it's sort of our birthday episode as well. Yay.
And it's episode 45, and I turn 45. How old are you, Duncan?
I am 45, and I'll be turning 46.
Oh, you can play catch up the week after.
So for one day, because yours is before me, one day you'll be the same age as me.
Yeah, that's it. Yay.
Okay, so...
What have you been playing?
I've been playing... Oh, what have I been playing? Well, Big Kitty... No, not Big Kitty. It's a Little Kitty, Big City. I have been playing that. It is quite short. I think I mentioned it before, but didn't know how short it was. I've completed it. Got most of the achievements-ish. I think I've got about 800 points or something. So yeah, it's not worth full price, but it is a very good game. Kids will love it. Yeah, but I think probably I didn't mention this before, but the big game that came out this week, Senua Saga, Hellblade II.
Yes, I've been hearing a lot about it. Is it good? Have you been playing it?
Oh my god, it's absolutely amazing. In terms of visuals, I will start with the visual because that is the main selling point of this game. It is a full price game on on the platforms it's on, so it's on Xbox and PC. It's I think £50, so full-ish price. But it is day one Game Pass because they are an Xbox Microsoft first party. But the game, it starts and there's cutscene and it's obviously very heavy story based. And I wondered at first if it was a live action, and I mean, the graphics were that good that I could not tell the difference in the opening. I was like, "Is this live action? Have they done that thing where they've digitized sort of the land, but they've integrated with it?" But no, it was all computer generated graphics. And then I wondered while it was playing, while I'm still wondering if it is live action, why nothing was happening. And it's because I wasn't watching a cutscene. It was waiting for me to control it. It was that good.
Wow.
And the actress who plays Senua is won the BAFTA for the acting last year, who apparently was a stand-in at the last minute.
Okay. What's the story?
Yeah, so there was an actress all hired and everything, and she was something else in the company, and they used her instead, and now she's won a BAFTA and whatnot. But yeah, it's just astounding. The graphics are they're jaw-dropping. It's beautiful even when there's blood and guts and death all around you. It's still a beautiful game. And for the Series X, which is basically compared to high-powered PCs, nowhere near as powerful anymore, to get it looking that good, I don't know how they've done it, but it is absolutely stunning. In terms of gameplay, I haven't completed it yet because it's been a very busy week. But it seems so far more the same. Some camera puzzles that you have to look at things in certain ways, and you have to work out how. Basically, you'll be in an area and you've got to work out how to get past that area, kind of thing. It has also got the binaural sound, so I'd highly recommend anybody that is playing it without headphones wear headphones because the main character Senua has psychosis. She hears voices, but she can hear them over there, all over the place. And with the headphones on, it feels like you've got somebody whispering in the back of your head. It's that. I mean, it's another thing similar to the graphics. The audio engineering is very good, very very good. So all in all, I think if the graphics weren't as good and the sound audio ability was not as good, it would be an average game. It would be a 7 out of 10 kind of thing. You play it and go, yeah, it's all right. But it's one of the few cases where graphics make the game, and the graphics does make you feel like you're playing an interactive movie.
Love it. It must be like Hard Rain or one of those, or Heavy Rain, whatever it was called.
Yeah, but this one you're actually really properly controlling, from a third person, so it's not first person, it's third person. If anyone hasn't played the first one, it's puzzle, but Senua is, I can't remember what, I think it's set about 400 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe longer, I don't know. But anyway, it's set. The first one was set in, I want to say, the Scottish Isles, but this one is set in Iceland. And they actually filmed a place in Iceland. She has quite severe psychosis where she hears voices, but then her life is settled, but then her partner gets killed by these slavers that have come from the Northmen. And so the whole game is you taking a severed head to try and find these Northmen, and you're battling in hell and all this kind of thing. The fighting isn't the best fighting in any game. It's very time based, sort of rock paper scissors kind of thing. The puzzles are good, but it's the game as a whole. The game as a whole is good. So none of the particular things other than the graphics stand out, but the game as a whole with the graphics, very good game. Highly recommend
it. I should check it out.
Yeah. So that's probably the main game I've been playing. Yeah. I totally didn't mention that before we came on there, but yeah. So fantastic. Senua Saga Hellblade 2 or Senua Saga 2 Hellblade. I don't know which way around it is actually. But it's Senua Saga and it's Hellblade and it's the second one. So,
well, I've been playing 3 different games. One is a mobile game, and then the other one's on Steam, and then the other one is retro. So, the mobile game I've been playing is something called Crowd City, which has been around for many, many years. You essentially have a group of people. You run around, and the bigger your group, you can overrun smaller groups, and they become part of your group. And then you go.
Oh yes. Oh God, I remember playing that years ago. Yeah.
Well, it recently had an update, as far as I can tell.
Okay.
It's really good. I've probably done half an hour over the last week on it, maybe a little bit more. So, according to the leaderboard, I'm now ranked number 1 in the world. So, out of 12,000 people, I don't know how, but I am. So we'll take that as bragging rights. But I'm sure within minutes I'll be overtaken. But it is great fun, and it's really enjoyable. So well worth a dip in if you're just like if you've seen our Facebook page. In the last couple of days, we've got a post on there about what games you play while you're on the toilet, and that is definitely a game to play while you're on the toilet. So Crowd City, which is available on iOS and Android, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I think it's one of these IO games that's available on like itch.io or itch.io that are freely available. Yeah. So it might be available on PC.
There's some kind of online. Well, I can't work out if the other people that are playing are online or whether they're just ghost players from other games, like where other people played. It's hard to work out, but either way, it's great fun. So, I've also been playing RoboCop Rogue City on Steam.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. It's okay. What can I say about it? It's like the Terminator game we got a few years back. It's just, if it wasn't RoboCop, it wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah,
You know?
the people who I know have played it have loved it. Have said that it's the nostalgia
Yeah. Yeah.
that gets it
Yeah.
to be really really good.
Yeah. And it is that simple. It's just, if it wasn't RoboCop, it would be completely throwaway. So yeah.
Have you got to? What's it? What was the other robot that you fights?
Ed 209.
ED-209, does it?
Yeah.
You
I
have
haven't.
20 seconds to comply.
Yeah, I haven't. I did previously, but to be honest, I haven't put enough time into it. The one I've been putting the most time into, which is one of my favorite games of all time, it's a Neo Geo AES game, and I've got the Neo Geo arcade stick, so it's got like 50 games on it or whatever it is, and it's called Magical Lord or Magician Lord, sorry. And essentially it's a scrolling fighting game. There's bosses, you go up and down ladders, and there's skeletons you fight, and there's like power-ups and things, and they change your weapons and your outfit, and it's just a really fun game. It's bloody hard, and it's just a fantastic game. If anyone's ever played it on the original Neo Geo AES console, it's a delight with the arcade stick. But even just to play it on the I say new Neo Geo arcade stick, it's not new, it's been around for 3 years. It's as close as it gets to the original port, and it's a joy, and you honestly just keep wanting to go back for more, because the bosses and the characters are great. It's hard, and the gameplay also, it's probably really structured, but it feels like it changes every time you go back in. So well worth checking out.
I'll put the box art up on the screen for people to see.
Yeah.
So what the Neo Geo, was it AES?
AES, yeah.
What's
So
that?
it was they had 2 home consoles, aside from all the other handhelds and things like that, which we'll probably talk about later. They had the AES, which was the home ports of the arcade releases, and then some. And that was a cartridge, and it was really expensive to buy. And the cartridges were massive. I mean, you're talking like dinner plate size cartridges to plug in. The machine was, God, I think it was like, when it first came out, I think it was something like £1,500. It was absolutely horrendously expensive, and still is to this day. But graphically, it was on par with the arcade.
It was arcade. It was the arcade at home.
Yeah.
That's why I really wanted one. Obviously, I would never going to ever get one, but you could have the arcade at home, which nowadays, obviously, you go to arcades, and generally the graphics are
they're similar.
Most of they're either similar or worse than home consoles.
Yeah, I think it worked up to the point of the release of Mortal Kombat, when you have digitized characters, and then the Neo Geo AES couldn't cope with that. That was beyond it. But it had some phenomenal games like Metal Slug and things like that. And some of the games retail were like over $2,000 now. So it's really expensive. And then you had the Neo Geo MVS, which was essentially a machine that could take the arcade boards, if I understand it correctly. So it was a homebrew. You put your own homebrew case on it, 3D printed case. Or if you go real far back, your own molded case, heat molded case. And it would take the arcade cabinet boards. So if you remember back in the arcades, you'd have Neo Geo cabinets in the arcades. They were red and they had Neo Geo at the top.
Yeah, all the SNK games were those, weren't they?
Yeah. So inside those machines were multi-board machines, so it was capable of flipping between the arcade boards to play, or it would have boards that would have multiple games on them. So, and that was a cheap way of the arcade owners having machines in there that could play things like,
Get
various.
replace games. Oh, that's not very popular. We'll get a different game.
Yeah, and something, it got to a stage where they would have like Street Fighter on a Neo Geo arcade machine because it was cheap to get a knockoff and put that in there and things. So, but it worked. It was fun. So yeah, that's what I've been playing, and yeah. Interestingly, I've just found something that came up on my newsfeed as we've been talking. Do you remember Batman Arkham Knight, the game?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just received a next-gen graphics overhaul on the PC. It's said to be better graphics than 99% of the games out there at the moment.
Which Arkham game is this?
Arkham Knight.
Oh, yes. That's the one with Robin and everything, isn't it?
Yeah. So they've remastered the graphics through a mod, and it's using the RTX 4090, and the game can be pushed on extreme settings that grant it resolution, texture, and frame rate upgrades, as well as some ray tracing as well. I was just looking at the graphic upgrades, and they are absolutely phenomenal.
Although you have to take the screenshots. Screenshots always look fantastic.
Well, I'm just playing some video as you were talking, and
I mean the 4090 is a powerhouse. But I remember Arkham Knight being a very good looking game. I was quite surprised it ran as well as it did on the hardware.
Even on the PlayStation, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I obviously played it on Xbox, but yeah, it was a pretty game.
Yeah,
and it always had that the lighting where everything looked wet, even when it wasn't wet. So yeah, it'd be like when it's raining. It's wow! It looks really. Everything looks wet, and it looks like it's shining off it. And then the rain would stop in the game. You'd be like, "Huh? It still looks really wet." Oh, that's right. It's just the standard light. I don't know what they call it, but that kind of lighting. But no, it was a good looking game.
They all were really. I mean, I think most of the Batman games of that era were fantastic. So
yeah, it's just a shame that those ones, I think, with what Rocksteady have brought out recently, maybe that's come to an end.
We're hopeful for the new VR game. We'll see. That's due out soon. So,
although that's not Rocksteady, is it?
No.
That's the company that made the Iron Man VR.
Yeah, and that was a great game. I mean, limited.
That got some good reviews.
Yeah.
Because there was a Batman VR, wasn't it? But that was more of an experience kind of VR.
Yeah, that was
thing.
on the PlayStation.
That's on PSVR.
Yeah.
So but yeah, Rocksteady have not had as much success. Yeah, they've got to be careful that they don't go the way of things like what's it called? Austin that had just closed down. Yeah. The one that Mike that did Redfall. Arcade Austin.
That's it.
Because Arcade Austin, very good games, and then one failure and they're gone. Now Rocksteady, I'm presuming, are in bed with Warner Brothers. I don't know.
God knows. They're still around now, I think so. Any more gaming news? What else do we have?
Hey, so Sony are advertising. I saw that you mentioned Sony are advertising for mobile.
Yes.
Mobile developers and programmers, artists, whatever. I'm not very hopeful for this because the thing is with traditional gamer companies and mobile is that there's not been much success really for mobile.
No.
I mean, if you look at Microsoft, let's go with Microsoft. They've had their own operating system, which, although was very well received, failed because it didn't have enough developers for it. And then as that happened, that sort of snowballed into developers leaving. And And then get their games. I mean, yes, okay, they've got things like Wordament and Solitaire on mobile. But other than that, I don't suppose they own Candy Crush now, but
Yeah,
they bought that. They haven't created this mobile ecosystem. Then Nintendo, now granted, Pokemon Go has been very successful.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I mean, you've got Mario Tour and the Mario Kart
Mario Kart, yeah.
is they haven't been as successful as they like. I don't think they might
No.
be making millions per week. I don't know, but that's not what they want or need.
No, I think what's missing, and who am I to tell these, companies what to do? But I think what's missing, and it is rumored to be coming with Nintendo, is a mobile app that allows you to download and pay for the games in a limited mobile capacity. So you get the full game, but it's suited for mobile, and you have access to your digital library or games you can play on a mobile device, either with a controller or virtual controls.
Mm-hmm.
And you take your Nintendo, PlayStation, or Xbox collection with you. And obviously, Xbox, you've got it with Game Pass. You could do that on a mobile. But I think Sony and Nintendo need to use their back catalogue in a mobile environment. And if you can go and download Crash Bandicoot or Wipeout, the original, or even an N64 game, or
Crash Bandicoot now is owned by Microsoft.
Yeah, true.
So,
I mean, but whatever game it could be, if you could download Super Mario World for £1.50, have some adverts playing around the outside or something to segment the loss in income from the game sale, and you have access to that digital library wherever you go, whatever machine you own with Nintendo, including on your mobile phone. That is a win-win for Nintendo.
Yeah. I mean, they if you could link your ability to the fact that I can go on cloud gaming and I can play what's on my Xbox. Because one thing that Xbox have wanted to do is have their own store. Have their own store on iOS, on Android. And if it could have it where I buy games on that and they're big enough games that I can play them on mobile, but I could also play them on Xbox or vice versa. The unfortunate part of that is that I think that games as a service is pretty much a given now. It's got to be making millions per week, and all these big companies they can't do it. These big companies have got to grow. This is why these companies, these development studios have closed down, because they're not making more money than they did before. It's not that they're making something that isn't successful, then it's just not as successful as previously. They're not getting bigger. So if they go, oh yeah, great, you can buy Candy Crush on your phone, but then and you can play it on your Xbox, I'll be like, I don't really care. But if they say to me, oh, GTA Chinatown Wars or something is on your PS5 and on your phone, that kind of game, brilliant, absolutely,
that's
brilliant.
a win-win. That works.
Yeah.
But then, do we look at the other side of it, where are we going beyond the need for individual companies to release games machines per se, and companies now need to get to a stage where they say you buy the game and you can play it on any platform?
I think that's what Microsoft want. Obviously, the things like Hellblade II, Senua Saga 2, you can't play that on your phone unless it's cloud-based. And now I can play cloud-based games on my phone. You can. But if I go to the countryside, or if I go to a country where their average, UK isn't even that great, to be honest. But if I go to a country or a town or anywhere in the world that hasn't got good internet, I cannot play that game.
Yeah.
Even if I've got handheld.
Mm.
And so cloud-based gaming is the future. It's just
not the now.
Yeah, it's the now if you're never really going anywhere and you've already got it. But like in America, Canada, Australia. I mean, Australia. As soon as you're out of a city, from what I've been told, as soon as you're out of a city, it's an absolute lottery as to whether you can get barely anything above. You either get fibre, where you'll get here's a gigabyte for tuppence halfpenny, or you're paying an exorbitant amount for 1.5 megabit.
The rumours are that the PSP is coming back. This is
what?
Yep.
In what form?
Well, with the PlayStation 5 Portable, whatever it's called, I mean, not really pay much attention to it, but that's been really successful for Sony. And with the upcoming Switch 2, Steam Deck, and all the other hangers-on, apparently.
Oh, so do you mean like the name PSP is coming out back?
The name the rumors are the name PSP is coming back with a handheld gaming device that allows you to access your content, both streaming and
locally installed.
Yeah. I was trying to think of the right way of saying that.
Okay.
I think there's a market for it done correctly.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. If you can play your PS5 games on it, your PS4 games, PS3, whatever, and if it allows you to access the PlayStation Plus content and maybe download a copy directly to the device and play it on the move, then you've got a market.
Yeah, I don't think we're at the stage where PlayStation 5 games and Xbox Series X enhanced games are locally installable on a handheld. But I mean, at the moment we've got PlayStation 4 and Xbox One beating graphics on the Steam Deck, on the ROG Ally, the Legion Go, and other handheld devices. So I think if we're talking sort of let's say by 2030, I think handhelds could be the future. I think personally,
I think honestly cannot see a PlayStation 6.
Well, we discussed the future, haven't we, quite a few times? I think we've never really gone. Yeah, I think that is. We've said about the fact that we'd love VR to be more popular. Some kind of wearable tech, all these kind of things. But I really do think that handheld, whether it's some kind of mobile device or whether it's a Steam Deck style handheld, or like a Switch style handheld, I think that is showing itself to be the future with how popular it is.
And the PlayStation VR 2 just got its first price drop.
Ooh, so is it only slightly expensive now?
It's $479, if I read correctly earlier.
Is that in pounds? Yes.
Yes, $479 in pounds, which
what was
down from $550, if I remember rightly.
Okay.
$549. That's quite a good drop.
Is that like a Sony, like an RRP?
Yeah, that's a Sony drop.
Okay. So you probably could get it cheaper than that if you look on Amazon or other.
Don't go to CEX. If you go to CEX, you'll pay $700 for it. But let's work out $599 plus $479 plus I think it's $299. So what we're at 6. 9. So you're talking 30 to completely invest in the PlayStation ecosystem for the portable gaming, the VR, the PlayStation 5, and the headphones. You're looking at about £1,300.
Oof.
I mean,
It's
come
for
on,
that.
Sony.
You could, it would be a sort of, you could get a mid-range PC for that much quite easy. Well, when I say a mid-range, you could get a 4060 PC for that, no problem.
The PSVR 2 needs to be around 299 to make it a. I'm just going to go and get that. But if you really want a throwaway price to say, okay, let's just go and get that because that looks really cool, you're looking 199. We're well out. We're well out of the price range now, and they've been building the PlayStation VR 2 since the PlayStation VR 1 came out. So you can't tell me that the cost of the parts to make this thing are still at a range that's more.
It is a high end. It has got high end parts in it.
It has,
but the thing is, it's also are the materials high end? Are this? Could you make a cheap version? Your sort of your plasticky knockoff version, but they don't want to do that because they're Sony and they're like, no, we make high quality things. But I don't know anybody that's got the PSVR 2. I know quite a few gamers. And it's only people who are like, I've got an Xbox, I've got a PlayStation, I've got this that we talk about on gaming dads and whatnot. That it's only people who've got a lot of money or more money than sense that have got it. And it's a good piece of kit. No one's arguing that, but it ain't going to become mainstream, is it?
No.
Let's face it.
According to what I've just read, again, the internet could just be complete crap. The headset costs less than $299 to build.
Okay, so they want to make some kind of profit on it. Now, the days where they make losses on hardware are gone.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they used to create something for £100, £150, and sell it for £120 because they made money on or they just broke even and made money on the games. But I mean, I wouldn't even look at it probably until it was less than 250 probably.
I won't look at it until it's less than 120.
I paid 100. I am somebody who would have to pay £1,300 because I ain't got nothing to do with PlayStation. I've not got a console. I have not got anything. So if somebody said to me, get a VR, it would be a Quest 3.
Yeah.
And that's it's even with the new one being, I mean, you could get a Quest 3 for the same price as a PSVR 2, which you need all, the extra bits for.
But come on, let's be clear here. It's not even remotely comparable to the PS VR 2 in any way, shape, or form.
Yes, in terms of hardware. I mean, if you have a high-end PC, it's a no-brainer. Don't get a PlayStation.
But then you're looking what, $3,000 entry price?
To get if you got a 4090 kind of thing, but you only need like a 27. I think the entry level for a Steam VR or whatnot is a 1070 GeForce 1070. So what I'm on here, I haven't got no high-end PC. I'm on a 1070 here. This is my stepson's PC. I do not own a high-end PC. But I mean, this would be a few hundred, maybe £300 for this computer to buy. If I could sell it, I could possibly get 300 for it.
Yeah. I think my mate is high end,
and I could plug in. I got Quest 2. I could plug in and play Steam VR games on this.
Yeah.
It might struggle with Half-Life Alyx, but most VR games are not that graphically challenging. Even the Steam VR ones. There are a couple here and there. But if you got a 2070 or a 2060 above, or the AMD equivalent, then you're golden. So
I play Steam VR on my Quest by my laptop, and it runs relatively well, and this is a 5-year-old laptop.
Oh,
And
there you go.
yeah, so but it's still not comparable to the PlayStation VR 2.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the screens and the quality of the product is not as good.
Hmm.
But then again, if you compare the Quest 2 to the Quest 3, so
Yeah, that's it. So moving on, we have one more bit of news, and I like this bit of news. Atari has bought Intellivision, the oldest
yes,
video game battle of the companies.
yeah,
They
it's just taken about 40 years to
just as
to,
Intellivision's literally not worth a penny.
yeah.
So they've bought the brand and they've bought 200 titles they now own, and they're going to market.
Yes, because they haven't. The Intellivision were making, what was it? It's well, people don't think it's going to come out, do they? But
No,
the Amico, is
yeah, it
it?
doesn't include that.
And it doesn't include that, does it? So
No.
Atari have been like, "Oh, you want to keep that hardware that nobody's going to buy and nobody wants? Yeah, all right, then that's fine, no
Yeah.
problem. But we got loads of technology in it. Are you sure you don't want it? No, you said we don't want it. It's fine. It's fine. You keep it."
Let's face it, we all know it's going to be a complete tank.
Well,
And-
it's been in development hell for years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's been delayed, hasn't it?
Delayed,
Few times.
disappeared,
Yes.
re-envisioned. I mean, it's a bit like the Atari VCS and the recent re-release of the Woody.
2600 plus. Was
What's the point?
Ooh.
I did like the VCS, and if someone wants to send me one for free, I'll take it. And the joystick was fantastic; it lit up as you moved it and stuff like that. But let's face it, it just looks good in the corner. I don't want to play it. Atari games were shit. Okay,
I'm with you there.
They were shit when they were released. They're still shit now, and they will remain forevermore shit.
They're good if you want to have a bit of nostalgia with your kids and go, "Oh, look, this is what we used to play," and they'd be like, "Oh, okay." And then for a whole afternoon, they might play it. The next day, if you say, "Do you want to play some Frogger?" No.
Let's face it.
I've got Fortnite. Why would I want to play Frogger?
Let's face it, right, Duncan. If you compare Atari to the now games out there, Atari is a bit like Roblox. Okay, in years to come, our kids will go, "I used to play Roblox," and their kids will go, "That's a load of shit."
Oh, it's rubbish.
Yeah. And people blame ET for the downfall of Atari and the downfall of the industry. That guy had 6 weeks to bring out an A-quality title game for a movie that was hitting the stratospheric movie limits. Atari couldn't keep up, didn't keep up, and then when they finally decided to get with the program and release a CD-based machine, they stuck with a cartridge on the Atari Jaguar. They then released a 1-speed CD drive, and apart from Tempest, Doom, and an Alien versus Predator, the rest of it was cack. So they've only got themselves to blame, and anyone that thinks that Atari was even comparable to the Spectrum or the Amstrad or the Commodore back in the day is a Looney Tune. Just get off your pedestal, go and buy yourself an Amstrad 464, and then wallow in your own pit of despair as you play Galactica.
I've got the picture on our video of the Amico console that's still meant to be coming out. I don't even know what the controllers are meant to be.
So they're paddles. They're paddles a bit like the original machine, and it's all a touch interface.
But they've got screens and touch. So it looks very pretty and everything, but it just looks like some kind of weird mobile phone from the early noughties.
See, what I want to do is get my really, really rubbish copy of Avengers on the PS4. I want to find the person that even put this concept into play, and I want to wallop them with my crap Avengers copy, because they should just Stop.
Well, apparently, there's going to be an introductory price of $249 for the Amico.
Oh God.
God,
I'd rather spend the money on a PlayStation VR 2.
well, that's the cheap one. If you want to get the wood grey one, it's $279, and the Galaxy Purple is going to be $299.
How much is the Steam Deck now?
Well, yeah, I think you can get a refurbished to 64 gigabyte for the same or less. So
it's a no from us, right?
it's a no from us. But if somebody wants us to try one and send us one, it was originally slated to be released in October 2020, but it ain't coming out, is it?
And even if it does, it's going to go the same way of the Atari VCS in the bin.
Well, I mean, it's got things like Asteroids, which classic, but again, boring, limited. It's boring for a long time. It's got what did I just see? Bad Dudes, which Bad Dudes is basically like Double Dragon, wasn't it? It was like an early Double Dragon. It's not they're not great games, and I'm just looking through. There's an Earthworm Jim 4. Is a proposed game that's been in development since 2008. So, yeah.
It's just no. Come on.
Oh, look, you can get Pong on it. We're not normally this negative about something. That should show. That should show. that should show how terrible the Amiga cards are. But at least Atari didn't buy it. Atari could just sell the Intellivision games and brands.
Yeah, and that's worth it. That there alone is worth it just to get a bit of nostalgia.
Maybe.
10 minutes on a Switch and whatever.
Yeah, but anyway, that's nearly 50 year, like I don't know, something like 45 years of battling come to an end because Atari bought it, which obviously paid. How much? I will just have a little research of that.
I reckon it'll be £1.
Is acquired 20? I can't find the price.
Intellivision just gave up.
Like,
just went, look, just take it. Take it.
They just came in and just helped themselves to folders of paperwork.
They just went, look, just hand it over. All right, this is done.
So in late 2023, it was reported that the company then known as Intellivision was facing financial difficulties in producing Amico units and was seeking funding. Appears the sale of Intellivision brand to Atari may have been made to fund the Amico. Oh dear.
So how do they then have to license the name back from Atari to then sell the Amico?
I don't know.
Because they're going
to. It'll just be called the Amico. It won't be called the Intellivision Amico now.
Released by Atari.
Well, no, they don't own it, do they? They don't own the Amico.
They'll become the distributors for it, though.
Oh dear, could you imagine? But then Atari are a software brand,
and they do quite
as well, or mostly, and yeah. They've had some okay games.
And we have to remember that Atari now is not.
It's a very different game.
Yeah,
a very different company. Sorry.
Yeah. They own the name, but they're not the same people.
Is it? Yeah, I mean, just looking at who Atari have been owned by, Hasbro for 3 years. Anyway, yeah. So enough of moaning about Intellivision and Amico.
Let's moan about something else.
Yeah. So we'll just go on to moaning. Biggest regrets. Now, I think we alluded to mine last week. I'll start. I've had quite a few devices over the years. Some have been more successful than the others, but I bought. Worked it out eventually. I bought a Neo Geo Pocket Color. Now, like we talked about the Neo Geo Pocket Color, the Neo Geo earlier, and the Neo Geo was synonymous with being expensive, with having these amazing arcade games. And the Neo Geo Pocket Color was just basically not quite as powerful as a SNES, not quite as powerful as more powerful than a NES.
Keep going.
And yeah, and it had very limited games on it. It was backwards compatible with the Neo Geo Pocket, which was a monochrome handheld, I believe.
Yeah.
And this all came out, unfortunately, I believe, when the PlayStation 1 was already out. Yeah. So, yeah, it came out in 1998. And so, God knows when I bought it, because it didn't come out in the EU until October the 1st, 1999.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bought that. I would have been 21 if I bought it. I don't think I bought it at launch. But yeah, I bought that when I had a PlayStation 1. I don't know what on earth I was thinking. The games were meh at best because it had 2 buttons. So there was Neo Geo fighting games on it that weren't very good, but had 2 buttons.
Mm.
I think it might have had shoulder buttons.
It did. It had Sonic on it as well, which was actually quite good.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But then most of the games, I looked earlier on the Wikipedia, the list had 73 games in it. Most of those were Japan-only games because they were just weird names, like Japanese named games. So, it was just terrible. It was.
I have a theory, Duncan. So I remember, and we live in the same town. So I remember music.
Don't forget,
videos.
I'm not from this town.
I get that. But I remember Music Video Sound Superstore, MVC, was selling the Neo Geo Pocket Color and the Neo Geo Black and White with games, and they were knocking them out for about £15 for the machine in a bargain bucket. And next to it was games, and they were from £2.50 to £5 a game. And I think that you, like me, probably saw it in a bargain bucket like that and thought, I'll add that. That's Neo Geo.
Well, I've just been looking, and apparently it was all done and dusted by 2000.
Yep.
Yeah, in EU, June the 13th, 2000. It was only released 6 months earlier. So, yeah, I remember it was a game, I think, or Game Station, I think, in my hometown. I still lived in my hometown in Worcestershire.
Up north.
And it was, pardon? Up
said
north.
Up north.
Up north. No, I was Midlander. I'm neither northern nor southerner.
Yeah. You're northern.
And so I believe it was Game Station. I went in there, and they had a display. It wasn't just a bargain bucket. I remember buying it, but yes, I think it was cheap. Yeah.
Did they giggle as you left the store?
Oh, probably. They're probably like, yes, we got rid of one. We got a whole shelf of these.
Someone got a lot of commission for that task.
Yeah. So, I don't know, but I just wanted a handheld probably, and let's face it, the PSP that came out. Oh, hang on, when did that come out? That came out 2004. So that was a few years away. The Game Boy you had the Game Boy Advance at that point.
Yeah, and the Game Boy Light as well, which was fantastic. Oh, sorry, Game Boy Pocket Light.
Yeah, so the Game Boy Advance came out. Oh no, sorry, the Game Boy Advance came out 2001.
Yeah, it would have been the Game Boy Light around that time.
Okay, so yeah,
which was far superior than
and that's probably why I bought it. I probably bought it because it was color and the Game Boy Color. I did have the Game Boy Color at one point, so I probably bought that after having it.
You also had the Atari Lynx, if I remember rightly.
I think I did. I'm not sure. I've looked at the links and gone, did I have that? I can't remember. I've looked at the list of games and gone, if I bought that was a bit stupid of me. But I saw the Neo Geo Pocket Color and I was like, That's the one. I had that.
Yeah.
Because I for years I've been wondering what that handheld was and I could never find out.
See, I think the Atari Lynx though has become quite cool now. And if you said you owned an Atari Lynx, it was like, wow, that was really cool. But then people say I owned a Game Gear, and you kind of go, oh, did you? Whereas
The Game Gear was the Game Gear just suffered from the fact that you needed a power station to follow you
yeah,
around.
and it had a ghosting screen and terrible sound
Yeah,
chip, and
but the fact that they crammed Sonic onto it at the
yeah,
time,
and
in
Mortal
fact,
Kombat.
yeah, so they crammed a lot of games onto it.
Mm,
Oh, they crammed Mortal Kombat onto the onto the Game Boy.
they did.
That was not good. And
No.
another game that we're going to talk about in a minute. But yeah, so oh yeah, the Neo Geo Pocket Color. It was out for less than a year in the EU, and
That was enough.
yeah, it was not very good. It was not
So,
very good.
so
It
one
only
of,
took 2 AA batteries apparently.
and lasted a long time.
Yeah, for 40 hours of play.
Yeah.
Okay. And it
So
had a button battery for backup memory and clock, apparently. There you go.
So
So
one of my gaming regrets was, and this is one of those things where I go, okay, it has a place in my heart because I was a big Super Nintendo fan. And I played this game on the Mega Drive with my brother-in-law, and the Mega Drive version was fantastic. The Super Nintendo version looked like a kid had gone crazy with some coloring crayons and Crayola. And it's PJ Tour Golf on the Super Nintendo. The gameplay was all there. Everything that the Mega Drive version had. Graphically, it was terrible. I mean,
oh,
the mode 7 graphics were fantastic. When you were about to go onto a hole, it would do a flyby on the hole and then
but
go
the
back.
Mega Drive did that as well. The Mega Drive had
It
flybys.
didn't do it as well though.
It
But
didn't do it as well, not because it didn't have mode 7,
no,
but it had them, and it still made you in the 90s made you go
yeah.
ooh.
The only thing I do remember on the Mega Drive version over the Super Nintendo is, do you remember when the bird would whistle on the hole and it would go sort of like, I can't whistle, but it was like doo-doo. And it always made me think that the bird was on drugs because it always sounded like it was like high and mega kind of like intense. So, but it was a great game, and you could. I remember going back over the holes and trying to get hole in ones on like the par fives and things. The hours spent playing those games, but for some reason the Super Nintendo one, I own it still. I don't own a Super Nintendo at the moment, but I own the game, and
So the SNES version came out in 1992.
yeah.
So it came out for the Genesis and Amiga in 1991.
Mm-hmm.
1994, Master System and Game Gear got it.
The Amiga version was fantastic.
Yeah, I think I remember because the Genesis, the Mega Drive, and Amiga versions were what I experienced. I never owned, but yeah, they were good. They were good, and they only got better. I mean, PGA Tour Golf was just synonymous with impressive. They always use the graphical abilities of every era that they used,
I
but
quite like
apparently not on the SNES.
No. Funny enough, I used to enjoy playing it on the Wii U. No, not the
So,
Wii U, the Wii, where you actually use the motion controls to play. I can't. It was Tiger Woods something or other. And it was basically,
yeah. There was a time I did play the Tiger Woods
yeah,
one.
it
I
was
think my
great fun.
brother-in-law had it.
Yeah, great fun.
Very well. So, did you actually buy that? You say you regretted it?
I did buy it. Yeah, it
Oh
cost
dear!
me
Did you
£50.
use your like Christmas money and stuff, or did you have a paper round? Or
I did have a paper round. I had 3 paper rounds, but
oh.
yeah, I used to go and buy a SNES game, or a couple of SNES games, at the end of every second or third month. And I think I got this one and Nigel Mansell's F1 Challenge, which was a fantastic racing game. Really enjoyable.
I remember the Nigel Mansell game. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. And then he did the same game, but it was called Nigel Mansell's Indie Challenge after he won the Indie Championship.
You can imagine it nowadays. Like it would have videos or a 3D image of him, and everyone would be like, "Oh God, that's terrible," because Nigel Mansell was very well known for being a fantastic driver. He was the Formula One world champion, but he was also incredibly boring. Big moustache. Yes,
Oh.
very, very much so.
Yeah.
I think he's too boring to have on TV or anything.
Oh,
I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but apparently, he's incredibly boring.
A bit like Nick Faldo, always just dull.
Again, I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but they just sit there with their millions nowadays. And,
that's it.
And enjoy life.
Yeah. So we reached out, didn't we, to some people on the Gaming Dads forum.
Yes, we had some interesting responses about gaming regrets, mostly hard. I did say hardware suffer, but I said hardware, mostly. We had some interesting ones. There was somebody, and I've always wanted an Xbox Elite Series controller too. I've always wanted that, and that one, somebody said they regretted it because they don't use the paddles, and they said it just felt like a slightly higher quality Xbox controller. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't use the paddles on my Steam Deck. I quite often, if a game is automatically using them, I disable them. I can't stand them. The motion of the they're not positioned right or something like that. So I don't like them. And so now I'm like, do I get an Elite controller? So I mean, if I'm paying 3 times the price for one controller, I could buy 3 normal controllers for that price.
I think the PlayStation 5's also got one, and again that one.
Yeah, that one's even more expensive. It's about £230, I think.
I mean, it's quite new. It's only recently come out, but even so, do we need it?
It's been out. Well, it's been out a lot less time than the Elite Series 2. But it's so it's made me question everything I've wanted because I've said to my wife quite a few times, I think I might save up my reward points for one of these. Obviously, she can't understand it, but so I'm just That one comment by the one gaming dad has thrown my desire for an Elite Series controller right into into a fire pit.
Yeah, I know that one person mentioned the Ouya console.
Yes.
So this is the fouled.
Do you say Ouya or is it
Ouya? Ouya. Yeah, I think it's Ouya. Actually, I think you're right. And it was a fouled Android Kickstarter campaign where they
massive success on Kickstarter. It's something like it's in their top 10 of biggest backed things, I think.
Yeah. I got one on its release. I didn't back it, but I did get one.
Do you regret it?
No, absolutely not. I don't. I still have it. It still works.
Okay, so it wasn't bricked when it all shut down.
No. Okay. So the initial service was you could download games. You got so many free. Then you pay for the extras, and there were some great games on it. And then that system failed miserably. They had another investor and they tried a different way of doing it. I think it was a subscription service that didn't work. Then someone else took over and you had this really weird setup and that didn't last. Fortunately for me, I'd already hacked the thing and was running a front end, and I loaded loads of ROMs onto it, and it makes a really good low-powered Android gaming system.
So what you're saying is then that your Ouya is is a great Android machine.
Yeah.
But the Ouya is not. Ouya's rubbish, but your Android box was perfectly fine.
Ouya in its first iteration, if that's the right word,
Yeah,
was fantastic. And the games were great, and it had loads of stuff to play, and it was a really enjoyable experience around the same time as
until
PS.
they made no money, because I
Until
think
they
basically
brought up.
they didn't sell much. Like their flagship success game was Towerfall Ascension,
That's it. Yeah.
which Towerfall, fantastic game, and it did come out on the. Oh yeah, I don't. We really have got to find out how you say that.
Ouya.
Yeah. But yeah, so that came out of that first, and apparently they sold about 7,000 copies.
Yeah.
It was ported to, I think, PlayStation, PC, and the guy said, "Yeah, I absolutely demolished those sales quite quickly."
Mm.
And yeah, they had the problem that, yeah, like you said, there was different ways of getting games onto the machines with people. Apparently, the interface was quite laggy.
I didn't experience that in the
Uh,
first go, but yeah.
But then they had a thing, didn't they, where they were offering up to 50,000 for developers to develop exclusively for their console. Apparently, I was reading this up.
That's right. Yeah.
But then they had people who were basically faking development of a game and then putting in their own money to then get money from the company.
Mm.
And apparently this annoyed the developers because there wasn't the proper checks going on.
Yeah.
And so the developers said, why bother? Because if you're going to give these people money and then say no to us because, or for some stupid reason. And so developers left hand over fist.
Mm.
Although I did see somebody I read online, it was on Reddit or something, did put, they said, I was developer of such and such. I can't remember what it was. I think it was 100 Rogues or something similar to that. And they said, is that developers didn't do anything that was interesting. Yeah. He said, but I'm still recovering from developing for that machine.
Interestingly, though, the makers of Towerfall made a sequel, and that was called Towerfall Ascension.
Oh, so Towerfall Ascension was the sequel. Oh, okay, because
Yeah,
that's
and
the
they
one I
released
played.
it on the Ouya, in November 2016. So they didn't even learn their lesson. Interestingly, it's now a free game on the PlayStation Plus. So
yeah, I mean, it got a lot of people playing it on other platforms, like streamers and YouTubers and whatnot playing it. It was a great game, very fast paced. Really good fun.
Yeah.
Powerful Ascension.
So let's quickly mention one of the worst modern day games that I think we can all agree has been released, and that would be Avengers on the PlayStation 4. I think it had a PlayStation 5 port as well. Absolutely dreadful game. Has no redeeming features at all, which is such a shame. It's just rubbish. So
yeah, it was a live service game, and it just. Well, number one was it came out at the same time as all the movies and all this, but they didn't have the rights to the movies. They had the rights to the characters, like Marvel's characters. So it wasn't even the fact that you could control Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Hemsworth and Scarlett Johansson. You could control versions of those that look nothing like them. Which for a lot of kids, some comic people would have gone, oh yeah, well, it's comic versions, all this. But yeah, it was soulless. I found, I did play it. It was not good.
not at all.
And the the whole live service thing. Eventually, I think they turned off the servers and just gave away all the downloads for free.
Yeah.
When they eventually turned it off. Yeah. No, I did not. I didn't like it either. I thought people were just being a bit moany because it looked pretty, all this kind of thing. But it was just go to one area, bash the attack buttons. Because the main character was Kamala Khan from Ms. Marvel. But you did get to control the other Avengers, and there was DLC ones. And some bits looked okay, and you could fly with some of the characters and whatnot. But yeah, it just felt repetitive, soulless, and microtransactions constant everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that one. If I had bought it, I would have regretted that.
I bought it for my son. I think he played it once and went, can't get past the first level. And then, that was the end of that one. So,
yeah. Well, I'm going to go back in time for a next regret. And it's not one specific game. It's a series of games. And it has a modern day equivalent. It's all those, if you go into, we talked with Michael Nerney and he said about going into the game shops back in the 80s. Back in the 80s, if you went into the game shops, there was a sea of cassette boxes. And the cassettes would be behind the counter, so you couldn't, most places you couldn't just nick them. And then you'd have all the top 10 or top 20 kind of games. But then you'd have the bargain bucket games. And these were games that were 99p or sometimes less, or you could get 199 ones that were like 3 or 4 games. And these were just terrible games. They were quite obviously done by one person, in a basement. There's a lot of good games were sort of small teams. They were a lot smaller than they are nowadays. And I bought so many of them, and I never learned.
Yeah.
And I literally, when I sold, I don't know what I did with my Spectrum in the end. In fact, my dad may still have it somewhere. But the cassettes I had literally was a bin bag full, a large black bin bag full of cassettes. Not all of them copied from friends and everything, but so many of them. And I must have wasted so much money. I mean, I've wasted loads of money nowadays on equivalent ones. Bundles from various resellers. If you go into Fanatical are quite well known for having bundles, and they're very good. They're a legitimate reseller. But they sell their mystery bundles, which are sort of a running joke on places like Reddit, where people like take the dive and buy one of their mystery packs because they're just the keys that they can't sell elsewhere. That's all they are. And it's exactly the same thing. It's a way to get loads of games for cheap. But you'll get 1 in 5, 1 in 10 might be a decent game. But you'll already have. If you've bought lots of these packs, you will get loads of copies. They only guarantee that within one pack will be different. So it's the same thing. You used to get all these games that you'd be like, "Oh, it's a soldier game." You'd have this lovely looking cassette with beautiful artwork because the artwork was cheap as well. And one person would make this crappy game, and then another person would make some artwork for this crappy game, and then some publisher would sell it for 99p. And then, if 100 people bought it, they probably made their money back because it was awful. I wish I could remember some of the names of some of them, but
well, there were so many veteran developers back in the day, and they all tried to do something. And you know what? Fair play to them. I mean, it took a lot of work to do anything at all and get the games out there. But they would make like 20 copies, and by the time you got to the 20th copy, it would never load. So, but I've got a few sitting in the loft. So,
you got a big bag. Big
I
bag
do.
of games.
I do. Yeah.
Have you got a big bag? That's not something you normally ask another guy, but
That's what she
but
said.
it's. I'm sure I gave away all my games. I'm pretty sure because even if my dad has still got the Spectrum, I don't think he would want to keep all the cassettes. And plus, they would have been sat there since probably the late 80s, maybe early 90s.
They probably still work better than your scratch Xbox games.
I don't have. I'm digital. I've been digital only for probably at least 5 or 6 years. I do still own a couple of box games, although I think these ones might be my stepsons. Yeah, there's some box games right by me.
Ooh.
Sonic Forces. Well, that's a load of rubbish. Well, Rare Replay. That's a good one. Yeah. So another here. I'll do one that will get you a bit riled up. Quite a few gaming dads have stated the Wii U.
Oh, sacrilege.
Okay, right. Stay with Nintendo. We'll do a couple. Quite a few said the Virtual Boy.
Well, to be fair,
It was a piece of.
it was pretty shit. But it has its place in history. But yes, it was shit.
Absolutely. I would never wish any of these things to never existed.
Yeah.
Neo Geo Pocket Color had its place.
Mm.
The 99p things, the people who made them have probably gone on to be, they're probably working at Take-Two Interactive now.
At Tesco. Go on then, what else we got?
So the Wii U one was basically, I think a lot of people had the problem that it was this big bulky controller and it just gathered dust in the end. A game, a modern. If we want to go a modern one, Anthem. Did you buy that?
Doesn't mean what system was that on?
That was all PS4, Xbox 3, Xbox One, things like that. It came out. It was BioWare, and it was BioWare's big game that was meant to be sort of the new Destiny, but made by BioWare. So it was amazing, and
didn't it end up with barely anyone playing it within weeks?
Oh, it was just barren a bit, and there was no end game, and there was no content, and they basically said we're going to completely remake this game from like an Anthem 2.0, and eventually I think EA went, no, we're giving this up, because I mean you could pick Anthem up after a week or so, it was going for pennies. People were selling them off and taking them back to your game shops. So they just put them in the bargain bin and were selling them all off as much as they possibly, as quickly as they could, because they knew it was going to be closing down. And it was a shame, because it had potential in the beta that was playable. I had great fun, and it was like, there was not much available, but it was like, oh, this is a beta. But it came out, and it wasn't terrible. It's just there wasn't much to it, and it was what was there. It was a bit repetitive.
Yeah.
It looked okay. It played okay, but once you killed one enemy, that was it. You pretty much killed all the enemies.
Yeah, it wasn't really one I played much of, if I'm honest.
Yeah. So we have quite a few answers, including Quest 2. The VR porn is subpar. That was a bit of a jokey one, but a couple of people have said the PlayStation Online device. Now, I didn't know what they meant to this, but you said apparently there was a PlayStation Now.
There was
like a stick or a box or something.
It was a box. I can't remember if it came with a controller or not, but it probably did. And was okay, but their servers and their systems at the time were just not ready for what it was offering. But it was okay. It was pretty throwaway. I think they ended the service in the end. I don't think it worked any longer. So
Yeah, I mean the PlayStation Now, as it was when The Last of Us came out, they were offering a 7-day trial of PlayStation Now on PC, and I didn't have a PlayStation 4, so I went, I really fancy playing that. I'll have a 7-day subscription to PlayStation Now.
yeah,
Play PlayStation Now, play through The Last of Us, cancelled the subscription. Bob's your uncle. I very much enjoyed the game, and it worked. It worked well enough for me. I had reasonably fast internet back then. Don't know when Last of Us came out, but yeah, it was great. It worked okay. Now, granted, it probably wasn't as high resolution as a PlayStation 4. I don't know what resolution it did, but yeah, it was great. But that I played that through PC, so there was a
right.
PlayStation Now app of some description.
Yeah, there was a phone app as well, I think, wasn't there, where you could use, and so there's multiple ways of accessing it, and that eventually became PlayStation Plus, the streaming and everything else. So yeah, I think it's early tech and it became something different later on.
Yeah, and then I think one more that came up a couple of times is, and I think probably a lot of people would, older people would agree with this in terms of the N-Gage, but the Sony Xperia Play. So it was the PlayStation phone, like you say, yeah, and it was meant to be a PlayStation in your hand. It was not.
But it
had some weird, because it had to be a phone as well. The controls, you had the D-pad, and then you had some like touch analog sticks in the middle, and apparently the controls weren't great. The phone experience was not great. So all in all, it completely flopped. They wanted to make a whole new ecosystem, but it had to be a lot better than that. I think I totally agree. And then this was after the N-Gage, which, for those that don't know, Nokia released a console phone that you had the buttons on it, the 1 to 9 buttons, but you had a D-pad on the side. But to change the games, you had to dismantle the phone, basically.
That's it. You took the back cover off, took the battery out, and then there was almost like a memory card slot underneath.
Yeah. And so it wasn't just to swap a game was an issue. And then it was really low resolution. And then there was all sorts of things like the battery didn't last. But they crammed Tomb Raider into it, I believe, didn't they?
There was Sonic and Tomb Raider, and I think there was a Resident Evil.
Yes. Game. I think they put it was the first Resident Evil 1. So this is going back to the Sony Mobile that you said about earlier, and this is what they've got to make it easy for people to play, I think, and the Xperia Play and the N-Gage absolutely did not, and I think probably most people who bought them probably regretted them.
So the N-Gage actually had 58 titles available. So to give you a gist of some of the titles people will know, Bomberman, Call of Duty, Civilization 2, Sega Rally. Let's have a little look here. Super Monkey Ball, PJ Tour Golf 2004, Tom Clancy, Virtual Tennis, Worms,
Virtual Tennis, good game.
Spider-Man 2, Sonic N. There was quite a few. I mean, MotoGP Ultimate Racing, there was loads of games. I mean, that's just a few of them, but yeah, I think it had scope, and I think they did re-release it, and they made it. I think it was called the Engage.
There was an Engage 2 or something.
Yeah, Engage QD or something like that, and that was QD. That was more accessible to access the game slot, and it was just a lot easier to use, but it didn't survive. Let's face it.
Yeah, no, they'd already soured every bit of goodwill they had, I think, and it was the start of Nokia's downfall, I think, as well.
Yeah.
I've put a picture up of the Sony Xperia Play, and yeah, it had it can't have been. I've never actually experienced one, but it can't have been comfortable using the analog sticks. Because it's not as big as a phone as nowadays, but yeah, using them and also, you had the nubbins in the middle of the touch analog sticks they weren't sticks, touch analog pads, to know that when you were in the middle. But I can't imagine that you'd probably be looking at the controls more than you'd be looking at the thing. I would definitely have regretted it. I did want, again, it's another one of these ones where I've looked back and gone, thank God I didn't buy that. Because they eventually turned off the servers so you couldn't download any games. And it was probably hacked as well pretty quickly, I can imagine. So
I was just looking at the Engage on eBay just to see what it goes for. Now, some of the games go for £25.
for the cartridges,
Cartridges, Crash Bandicoot, £64. Haven't yet found a machine. Let's have a look. So they go from anything from £100 to £500 for a box unit. So
Nice.
obviously it's picked up a little retro scene.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked up the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I'm like, oh blimey, if I had that now, I could probably sell that for £150 to £200. So it's if you've got any of these devices, generally they're pretty good, like in terms of value. So
just give them to us for free.
Yeah. I put a picture up of the QD Engage. It's not a pretty sight. I preferred the original one, to be honest. The original one had more of a techie look to it. And they made the second one more curvy kind of thing.
I seem to remember playing. So I worked in phones back then. And I seem to remember that coming in the store and me breaking out Tony Hawk's on it. And I remember it being very, very good for a mobile game. And at the time, I think it was around the time of the SPV Microsoft phone, which had some phenomenal games on it. But I mean, for that era, for mobile gaming of that era, it was pretty phenomenal. But as a console, as a handheld, not
now. I think we've been going on for quite a long time. This is probably going to be a longest. Tell us about a certain Super Nintendo game that I think you said you still have, or you definitely played, that has a spiritual successor that is still very successful.
So to hand, I have the Amstrad version, but we'll recognize the game, and the worst version was released on the Super Nintendo, and that is Pit Fighter. So for those of you that don't remember, Pit Fighter was one of the first digitized character games that you were fighting in a mosh pit, and the fighters would arrive on forklift trucks, and there were I think there were like 5 characters to choose from.
Yeah, I've got a picture up on the screen of the SNES version. Yeah. This one's called Buzz, I think.
That's it. So the Super Nintendo version I think in some magazines it got 8%, and in others it got
Oh.
1%. Graphically, it was horrendous. And to say that on a 16 machine that an 8-bit Amstrad version was better is saying something. But it essentially was like playing with Play-Doh characters. It was horrendous. So there was only one place for that game, and that was definitely at the end of a hammer. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can only say the picture that I put up for those that are listening on audio, it almost looks like a fat Batman. Imagine if Batman only had the cowl over his head and then had nothing on his chest and red spandex, like, yeah, trousers,
There we go.
pants for Americans. Yeah, so if you're watching on video, yeah, I've just yeah, it was not a pretty sight.
No,
And
there's nothing good about it at all.
it's let's face it though, the actual version on none of them were particularly great with hindsight. But so for it to be thought of as that bad.
Yeah. And when you look at it now, you look back and you think, okay, that game brought about Mortal Kombat. That game brought about World Wrestling Federation Arcade, amongst many other games. And for that era of gaming, let's face it, Mortal Kombat first game wasn't that great. Okay, it was only known, it was great because of the blood, but as a game, it wasn't that great. But it's held up in high regard because of what it did against Street Fighter.
It definitely it has a place in history, doesn't it?
Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat 3 were phenomenal games, and it did something in terms of that Mortal Kombat trilogy. And the wrestling game, again, digitized characters. It was a bit of fun. It weren't great, but it was a bit of fun. But it was the start of something, and people felt like they were playing the real characters, and that was enough. You get 5
Pit Fighter was an arcade title because I played it. I'm pretty sure I played it in the arcade.
You did.
Yeah,
and then it came out on the Mega Drive and 32X, Sega CD, SNES. I think the SNES version was probably the best version, but I am biased. But you'd get your mates round and you'd all play wrestling and you'd play Royal Rumble in it and you'd play
Hang on, what game are we talking about now?
WWF, the arcade.
Oh, okay, the arcade one. Yes, I did play that at the arcade, yes.
Which had home ports, basically. So, and it was fantastic. And you could get a few beers, get your mates together. I mean, I was probably 12 at the time, so no beer. Milkshake. But you would play cage matches, you play Royal Rumble, and it was a great night. So yeah, it has its place.
I'm just looking up. Apparently, Nintendo Power gave Graphics and Sound 2.5, Control 2, Challenge 2, Theme and Fun 2.5 on the SNES. I don't know whether that's out of 5 or 10.
For Pit Fighter.
For Pit Fighter. Sorry, I'm just looking, going back to Pit Fighter. But yeah. Well, there you go. That's our gaming regrets. Please let us know what your gaming regrets are. Yeah, we'd love to hear if we missed some glaringly obvious things. There are other ones that some of the gaming dads have said. One said the Dreamcast. Which I think the failure of the Dreamcast is probably the biggest regret for me. I think it could have been very good. Yeah, quite a few have said, the Wii U and the Wii itself. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I hate to be that guy, but it wasn't for the hardcore gamer kind of thing. It wasn't. It was
very throwaway. But
it was
it was that throwaway that made it successful.
Yeah, exactly. It was the fact that your gran could play it and she could play it quite easily.
It's one of the hardest machines to get a complete collection for as well.
Now, one person, one or two people has put PS Vita. So The thing is, at the time, was the PS Vita any good?
Yes.
Yes, it was a good piece of kit, but again, it's the support died out pretty quickly, and that's probably the theme. I think the theme throughout there is this is if support is not there, most things, even good devices, will die.
And I'm going to finish this topic with one final note.
Oh,
The worst ever gaming handheld, and regretfully something I bought as a retro system many years later, is the Tiger handheld game.com, which
yeah,
had internet access. It had a blurry screen, but it had Mortal Kombat, Jurassic Park, Resident Evil, Sonic, to name but a few. I had a Batman game that apparently was phenomenal. It was an impact game, but all in all, it was shite. And on that note,
yeah. Well, let's go on to this day in gaming. I don't think there's particularly much, but there was 3 games that were 23 games that were 20 years ago. A couple of Harry Potter games, but they're Thief, Deadly Shadows, as in not as in the reboot that was on the Xbox 360, I want to say, but the PC version 20 years ago that came out. Thief, Deadly Shadows, PC and Xbox.
Okay.
Very, very, very good game. Probably a lot of games were inspired by the original Thief. That was such a good game. I think I may have owned it on PC back in the days when you actually had the big PC games. Boxes.
Oh, big PC boxes were great.
Yeah, they were very good. So 20 years ago, I'm sure that's a remake or that's a sequel. The original Thief, I'm sure must be in the 90s.
15 years ago today, Infamous came out on the PlayStation.
I was
3.
just about to say that one, Infamous.
Oh, I love it.
Do you know what? I've never actually played Infamous, but I do believe it's quite similar to Prototype. Have you played that game?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I can see that.
Where you fly around a city and you are really overpowered and you can beat, tanks up and stuff like that. Both good games.
Ultra Street Fighter 2, the final challengers on the Switch 7 years ago.
Blimey.
Do you know what? I've never ever been able to find someone to play an online battle on that one. So
you have that, do you?
I do. Oh. I love it. It's fantastic, but
it's so fractured. The player base, the player base of like things like Street Fighter on so many devices that if you haven't got the latest one, then you the latest sort of 5 years, you can't play. You can't find people.
I haven't. Well, I like the fact that you can play all the different versions of Street Fighter in one game, and
it's
got like Street Fighter 3. It's got various editions of Street Fighter 2. It's got some of the Alpha series on it. I mean, it's fantastic. It really is fantastic, and it's a must purchase. I mean, I paid I think £24 for it, and it was worth every single penny. It really was. I haven't purchased Street Fighter 6 yet. That's something I do want to look at, but again, I'd rather play the older versions.
Yeah, I'm more of a 2D with Street Fighter. I'm more of a 2D person.
Yeah,
give me Soul Calibur in 3D. That's
I'll get Street Fighter 6 when it comes down to a tenner.
I'm sure that will happen. That will happen. Yeah. Or you'll get a Game of the Year one, which has all the DLC and everything.
Yeah,
and then that'll come down as well.
Well, I got Street Fighter 5, the Ultra Edition, so I'm happy with that.
Right. So, when do you think how old do you think Crazy Taxi 2 is?
22 years.
Oh, so close. 23 years.
Oh, bang on! Look at that.
I owned that game. Yeah, I bought that as a full-grown adult. I mean, then again, I bought Tomb Raider as a full-grown adult.
Oh,
So
I love Crazy Taxi.
Crazy Taxi, Crazy Taxi 2 are both fantastic. They're just pure arcade.
They are.
They've got that high score thing. They've got, really fun, like fast graphics. It was just, granted, it wasn't great for multiplayer because you'd have to, it would sometimes, if you were good at it, you could be playing for quite a long time. But both of them were, they were great. Sort of, oh, look, I've just beat your score. Look at this kind of thing. Crazy Taxi 2, at least, maybe Crazy Taxi 1, had a lot of online features, online leaderboards, all this kind of thing. They're very good.
Yeah, and particularly good on the Dreamcast. So.
Yeah, no, I think Crazy Taxi 2 was originally just on the Dreamcast. I think it was ported then to other ones. But yeah. Oh my God, Xbox 360. Forza Motorsport 2, 17 years ago. How is games on the 360 17 years ago?
Apparently, Forza's making its way to PlayStation.
So. Possibly, yeah. I can. Oh, yeah, that's a difficult one. That's if I think if they've Xbox have totally given up with a. Yeah. Oh, what Mario Party is the most recent Mario Party?
I have no idea. I gave up on that.
I'm sure there's it's like Mario Party 10. I want to say. I don't know. I'm not
no idea.
Yeah, I'm not a Nintendo owner really, but Mario Party 8, 17 years ago on the Wii. Crikey. That's just crazy.
I mean, I remember the GameCube version. That was phenomenal. So.
Then again, Splatoon on the Wii U came out 9 years ago.
Oh, great game.
Yeah, fantastic.
Grid 2 came out on PC and Macintosh 11 years ago.
Oh, we just had the Grid reboot come out as well. So
fantastic graphics, terrible racing game.
It's all right. It's one of these ones that I've played the Grid games, and I'm like, are you trying to be a sim or are you trying to be a arcade? Pick one. But right,
I've got one game to finish, Duncan.
Oh, God, are you going to make me feel old?
This is for the hardcore gamers out there.
Oh, is it 25 years ago?
No.
Oh, because
2 years ago that My Little Pony, a Maritime Bay adventure, was released on all systems, including Stadia. What more is there to say?
That's what we talked. We'll quickly talk about that. Stadia, we said, was one that we didn't regret because we got our money back on the hardware. So yeah, all good.
And a bloody good controller.
And a bloody good controller, yes.
On many different things.
Yeah. So what I found 25 years ago, 1999. Now, if I say to you, Nintendo 64, worst game of all time.
You know how much I hate the Nintendo 64.
Well, it's Superman. But it isn't Superman 64. It's Superman, the new Superman Adventures. So I'm just wondering if that is the rebranding Superman 64. I don't know. So
that was based off the cartoon, if I remember rightly.
Oh, okay. So it was not Superman.
No,
it was not Superman 64. Oh, I stand corrected then.
It was based off the. Yeah, it was based off the cartoon, which was a fantastic cartoon. It's coming to Netflix soon, boys and girls. And you had to. It was almost like Pilot Wings, so you had to fly through hoops and things like that.
Oh no! So it was the one I'm talking about. It's generally considered one of the worst games of all time.
Oh, it was horrific, absolutely horrific.
Yeah, so it is the one.
Its only saving grace was the fact it was linked to the fantastic Superman animated series.
Oh, so it's just a nickname is Superman 64. It's actually its full title is Superman: The New Superman Adventures, and so generally considered one of the worst games of all time. Is 25 years old.
Yeah, which is kind of what my opinion is of the N64. But there is. Anyway,
I've never really got on with any of the N64 games, but anyway, right. So I think we've got on because we're at about an hour and 40 minutes. So
wow. Longest episode so far.
Longest episode ever, I think. So
and a hell of a lot of moaning.
we are gaming dads, and yeah, let's face it, dads are very good at moaning.
We are. So on next week's show,
hopefully we'll have
Martin
back.
Yeah.
And he's just unfortunately available this week. I don't think. We haven't got a subject yet.
No, we'll have some more gaming news and today in gaming.
Join us on Facebook, and I suppose I should probably say. Did I say last week? I can't remember. Did I say that I am going to be doing a 24-hour stream in July, beginning of July the 6th? More details will be revealed soon, but there'll be a focus on gaming Twitch stream, and I will be doing it for 24 hours.
And we will be popping in briefly.
Yes, and I'd love people to come and play, and I will be having multiplayer games or Jackbox games, that kind of thing. So yeah, anybody that wants to come and come and play with me, and you'd be most welcome. And that's about it. Like and subscribe.
Till
all that
next
stuff.
Week. Yeah.
Bye.